It was a chilly autumn evening as I walked down a dimly lit street. The flickering streetlights cast eerie shadows that danced along the pavement. The air felt heavy with an unexplained tension, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I quickened my pace, trying to shrug off the unease creeping up my spine. As I turned the corner, my heart skipped a beat. A figure stood at the end of the street, partially obscured by the darkness. Something about them sent a chill down my spine. Instinctively, I tried to divert my path, but the stranger started to follow me, their steps matching mine with an unsettling precision. Fear engulfed me, and I broke out into a jog. The stranger's footsteps echoed behind me, growing louder and closer. My mind raced, desperately searching for a way to escape. I darted through narrow alleyways, hoping to lose them in the labyrinth of the city. But to my horror, they persisted, their relentless pursuit becoming increasingly apparent. I could feel their presence inching closer, their breath on the back of my neck. Panic set in, and I pushed my legs to their limits, sprinting as fast as I could. Each step was a desperate plea for freedom. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, fueling my escape. I finally reached the safety of my neighborhood, my house standing like a beacon of hope in the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, a wild mix of terror and relief. I dared to glance back one last time, and there, in the distance, I saw the stranger, their eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my keys, struggling to unlock the door. My fingers shook as I stumbled inside, slamming the door shut and locking it with a resonating click. The weight of the encounter settled on me, the realization of how narrowly I had escaped sinking in. I sat on the floor with my back pressed against the door, my breathing ragged. Questions swirled in my mind. Who was that stranger, and why were they after me? Their haunting presence lingered, leaving me with an uneasy sense of vulnerability. Days turned into nights, and nights turned into weeks, but the memory of that encounter never faded. Every time I stepped outside, my senses were on high alert, wary of any lingering danger. I became hyper-aware of the strangers around me, constantly scanning the faces, searching for any hint of familiarity. Though I managed to escape that night, I knew deep down that I had witnessed something truly sinister. The stranger's chilling presence haunted me, a reminder that danger could lurk in the shadows, waiting to pounce. And so, with each passing day, I vowed to remain vigilant, never forgetting the terrifying encounter that had forever altered my sense of safety. I was at the store minding my own business when a man approached me with a friendly smile. He seemed harmless enough, but there was something off about him. Our conversation was awkward, filled with forced pleasantries and uncomfortable pauses. He had unkempt hair, disheveled clothes, and a strange glint in his eyes that made me uneasy. After a few minutes, the stranger abruptly excused himself and left, leaving me feeling relieved, yet unsettled. I shrugged off the encounter, assuming it was an odd interaction with a peculiar person. I continued my shopping, trying to shake off the feeling that lingered. When I finished, I headed towards the exit. A chill ran down my spine. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end as I sensed an ominous presence. A sense of dread washed over me, urging me to be cautious. Instinctively, I hurried towards my car, my footsteps echoing in the empty parking lot. As I reached my car, I quickly fumbled for my keys and unlocked the door. Without a second thought, I locked the doors immediately. Just as I settled into the driver's seat, a horrifying sound pierced the silence. A desperate attempt to open my car. I glanced over, and there he was, the same man from the store, his face twisted in a menacing scowl. Fear gripped me, rendering my body frozen. He started banging on the window, his fist pounding. Relentlessly, panic surged through my veins as I realized the danger I was in. Without wasting another moment, I mustered every ounce of courage and started the car. The engine roared to life, and I peeled out of the parking lot, leaving the stranger behind in a cloud of dust. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as I sped towards home. Thoughts raced through my mind, questioning what would have happened if I hadn't trusted my gut instinct and locked the doors. The encounter replayed in my mind like a nightmare, reminding me of the thin line between safety and danger. The drive home felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest the entire way. Fear mingled with relief as I pulled into my driveway, grateful to have escaped unharmed. I sat in the car for a few moments, taking deep breaths to calm my racing heart. Entering the safety of my home, I locked the doors and closed the blinds, vowing to be more cautious in the future. The memory of that encounter would forever serve as a reminder to trust my instincts, no matter how uncomfortable or awkward a situation may seem. I shuddered at the thought of what might have transpired had I let my guard down. From that day forward, I resolved to listen to that unsettling feeling in my gut, for it might have been the key to preserving my safety and sanity. My name is Anna. I often take walks in the park because I believe it's good for my health. Usually I go during the daytime, but this time I decided to switch things up and take an evening stroll. At first, everything seemed great. The park had a serene atmosphere, and I enjoyed the cool breeze on my face. As I walked, I noticed a peculiar man sitting on a bench. He had messy hair, tattered clothes, and an unkempt appearance. I assumed he might be homeless. As I passed by, I tried to smile at him, hoping to be friendly, but to my discomfort, he glared at me with an unsettling intensity. His expression remained unchanged, and he continued to stare. I felt a knot form in my stomach, and a wave of unease washed over me. As darkness began to descend, I decided it was time to head back. As I retraced my steps, I glanced at the bench where the strange man had been sitting earlier. It was now empty. Relief washed over me momentarily, but I couldn't shake off this lingering unease that clung to me. Walking back to my car, I noticed the park was unusually empty, devoid of any other visitors. It felt eerie, and a chill ran down my spine. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. Almost at my car, a sudden sound of a snapping branch jolted me. I turned my head towards the noise in frozen terror. Peeking out from behind a tree was the same man. It was him, the same unsettling man from the bench. Fear gripped me tightly, and I knew I had to get away. Without hesitation, I sprinted towards my car, my breath ragged and panic consuming me. I reached my car, jumped in, and locked the doors, praying for safety. With trembling hands, I peered back at the tree where the man had been lurking, but he had vanished into thin air. Questions raced through my mind, wondering about his intentions and why he targeted me. I vowed in the moment to never walk in the park after dark again. I shared this story as a reminder to stay safe when you take walks, whether it's in the park or anywhere else. Trust your instincts, and if something feels off, don't ignore it. It's always a good idea to bring a friend along for added security. Stay vigilant and prioritize your safety. My name is Jeff, and I'm 22 years old. I live in a small town in Virginia where not much happens. It's usually pretty chill, and the people are cool, but there's one experience that scared me so bad I'll never forget it. It was getting dark as I was driving. I noticed my gas was running low, so I saw a gas station up ahead and decided to stop. The gas station had a weird vibe to it. It wasn't the nicest looking place. I put the pump in and started filling up my car. As I looked around, the parking lot was empty and there was no one in sight. I glanced up inside the store and saw the cashier. He was on his phone, looking bored out of his mind. I decided to go inside and grab a snack because I was a bit hungry. I walked into the store and bought my snack. The cashier didn't even bother to look up from his phone. I thought I was kind of rude, but didn't make a big deal about it. I got back to my car, ready to drive off, when suddenly something cold, metallic touched my head. Don't move. I was terrified and realized that there was a man in my car, and the thing touching my head was the barrel of a gun. I sat there frozen, my heart racing. The man demanded my wallet and phone. I slowly handed them over, trying my best not to make any sudden moves. I knew one wrong move could get me shot. The man quickly took my stuff and vanished from the car. I sat there still in shock, unable to comprehend what just happened. The realization of being robbed started to sink in. I realized that I forgot to lock my doors when I went inside the gas station. I mustered up the courage to step out of the vehicle, still shaking with fear. I looked around the gas station, but there was no one in sight. I hurried over to the cashier and asked him to call the police. He jumped, clearly startled by the terror on my face. The police arrived and took my statement. I couldn't give them a description because everything happened so fast. and I never even saw the man's face. The police assured me that they would be on the lookout. To this day, that encounter still terrifies me. I made a promise to myself that I will never go to a sketchy gas station again.